Dero, we're rolling. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another amazing session on cleaning the airwaves. As you can tell, I'm not even sure how to introduce this one because this one has different aspects that it touches on. So this is like the diaspora series. This is like a business series for those of you who are in the business world. For those of you who are thinking of entering the business world, this is definitely one CTA that you need to watch. For those of you who are in the diaspora and wondering who on earth is this fellow right now, trust me, this is one series that you need to watch because he spent some time in the diaspora and has some amazing lessons, learning and experiences from that. But also for those of you who are back home, this guy touches on the creative sector in ways that are very unique to any guest who has ever sat on this platform. This is a good friend of mine, a mentor. Very strangely, it's the first time I've told him that he's a mentor to me, but he is a mentor to me. Learned amazing business lessons from him. Gotten a lot of insight about business. Gotten a lot of connections through this gentleman. An amazing human being right here. So, wondering who I'm talking to? I'm talking to none other than the founder and CEO stroke MD of Goshen Acquisition, Solomon Wangwe. But on top of that, he's also an investor in various businesses. An amazing story. For those of you wondering who Goshen Acquisitions is, you're going to be hearing all about it. I don't even want to let out the juice. I can see some of you going to Google. But trust me, this is a business story that you want to hear. So ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, put your hands together for another other than Solomon Wangwe. Solo.
You sure you're talking about the same person? Wow, okay.
Solo, asante sana.
Karibu, man. Thank you for the honor. I can't believe I'm sitting here.
I know, man.
Yeah, I'm not sure I qualify, but
I think when people begin to hear your story, one of the things that I say on CTA is you never really know people until you take the time out to get to know people. That's actually for me the tagline of Cleaning the Airwaves. There are people who sit on this place whose faces may not be familiar, but when you begin to hear their story, there's so much inspiration, education, and entertainment that you can take out of their story. You, hands down, are one person who's going to deliver on that. So
no pressure.
No pressure at all.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get. You're actually not a stranger to being in front of the camera. So this
thanks to you. No.
So let's kick this off. And one of the things that I like asking Solo is let's start this from the very beginning. Tell me a little bit about your birth, upbringing, your childhood upbringing.
Oh, birth. Unlike my sister Elizabeth, who immediately follows me, I have two sisters. I'm the eldest of three. Unlike Elizabeth, I don't remember anything earlier than 3 years of age. So, as far as my birth, the only thing I can tell you is I was born July 26, 1978. I believe in Mater Hospital.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said you've got two sisters. You're the middle born.
I'm the firstborn.
Oh, you're the firstborn?
Yes, I'm the eldest of three.
Aha, nice.
Firstborn and only son to my loving parents.
Okay.
Yeah, and I do have, that's the other thing I should say about my beginnings. My sisters and I have been so blessed we won the lottery with parents.
Aha, hey.
Yeah, we have loving parents who, it's one thing to believe that someone loves you because they're supposed to, and it's a completely different thing when you actually know that they love you. And that's the thing with my mom and dad. We've never doubted their love. We feel it even in our adult years. We are whatever we are because of those two human beings.
Hey dude, you've started this with some major honor. I love it.
No man, it is due.
But in today's day and age, for somebody to say that about their parents, I don't take that for granted. It should be a norm, but it is not a norm for people to have both parents and also have parents who've instilled such amazingness into their life.
Kabisa, yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some of this amazingness. I'm forcing that word. Tell me a little bit about then your upbringing. Tell me about the home environment. You sound like you're born in Nairobi.
Yes, born in Nairobi, raised in Nairobi. I believe my parents lived in Buruburu Phase 1, I think, when I was born. I've seen photos. It was a very nice, posh area back then in the late 70s. But majority of my childhood was spent in Langata, in Rubia Estate. So my dad worked for the government of Kenya. He was a civil servant since before I was born, until he was, I would say, forcibly retired in, I think, 2002, when President Kibaki's government retrenched a big group of civil servants. I think anyone over the age of 50 or 52 or something like that was retrenched to make room for the youthful workforce. And that's how my dad stopped working.
Whoa.
So, you know, by virtue of his employment with government, we lived in Rubia Estate, and we had an amazing childhood. My mom, I think my earliest memory of mom was her as a receptionist at the Danish embassy.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. And the reason I remember is because on a few occasions, my dad would pick me from nursery school, St. Andrews, over here in Tao. St. Andrews Church is where I went to nursery school at the time. And he would take me to her office at the end of the day. And, you know, there was this lovely, her boss, I think her boss or colleague, her name was Karen, Danish lady. I think she was married to a Maasai gentleman. She and my mom became friends later. And every time I went there, they would give me the most exquisite chocolates I had ever seen in my life. You know, imported chocolates from Europe. So it burnt that memory in my head.
Hey, bro.
So yeah, so that was my early childhood. Changed schools a lot in Primo.
So where did you start off in Primo?
Primary school, Langata Road, before the so-called land grab. I did my standard 1.
Langata Primary?
Yeah, Langata Primary.
Oh.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience. But I was only there for a year. Then my folks took me to Langata Junior Academy, which is in Gay.
Yeah.
I think it's still there. Gay Estate. Mrs. Mohoro was our headmistress's name, and she was a school owner. Years later, I would attend college in the US, and one of the many Kenyan students I met there was her daughters, Tekla, and I forget the other daughter's name. But that's where I went to Primo from standard 2 to standard 5.
And what year is this? Can you remember when you started?
Standard 2, that was, I know I was in class 3 in 87, so
That's
from
86
to 89. To 89,
Yeah.
I was there. Beautiful. I had a blast. Happiest days of my schooling life. I should say second happiest days of schooling life in primary school. And then at some point, for some reason, they chose to move me to St. George's Primary School.
Oh, so it wasn't your request or anything?
No.
Okay.
I love Langata Junior. We still lived in Langata. Why I was being moved to St. George's in...
Dennis Pritt?
Yeah. I mean, we had to wake up at 5:30 in the morning, you know, do the whole traffic jam thing. And St. George's was a huge shift from Langata Junior.
Shift up or shift down in your perception?
In terms of experience, I would say down. Because Langata Junior Academy was a private school, small student population, students-teacher ratio was ideal, I felt. St. George's was like a sea of students. You were just a statistic. Yeah, it's like there was like 3 or 4 streams. Each stream had 50, 60 kids.
Was it a public school or private school?
St. George's is a public school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it was very famous back then, and very popular. I remember one of my classmates was the son of I believe now the late Mark Tor. You know, a lot of government bigwigs had their kids going there as well. So
Maybe that's why your dad decided. Maybe his peers were.
I have no idea. I should ask them why they moved me to St. George's. And my sisters joined. My younger sister joined me there, Elizabeth.
Uh-huh.
And then so I was there for exactly 1 year actually.
So just your class.
Surprisingly, class 5.
That's it.
Yeah, class 5. And then maybe a little bit of class 6. So for most of my class 6, I was moved to Kilimani Junior Academy, KJA, in Karen.
I went to KJA for about
No way.
2 years.
What?
Pre-unit and class 1 and 2. So I know
Wow.
it. That's a good. KJA was a good school at that time. It was really
was-
known in Nairobi for.
Was the best performing
Exactly.
school academically. We were always number 1. It was either us or Golden something, a primary school,
Yeah.
Golden Gate or something. But usually it was Kilimani Junior Academy. Much lower student-teacher ratio than even Langata Junior Academy. I think my class had 14 kids, 7 boys, 7 girls, and there was only 2 streams. So we had a lot of attention from the teachers. The teachers were great. The school environment was really posh, and I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed. I'd say my Kilimani Junior Academy days were my happiest schooling days.
What?
Yeah, I used to get depressed on Sundays because I couldn't be in school.
Hey, dude, what the heck?
Yeah, I mean, it was just, I had good friends,
Uh.
even from the neighborhood, a lot of friends, classmates who were from Langata as well. And I don't know, there was something about the experience there that was just right. And my sisters joined me there as well later.
Okay, so I love this era, and I want us to spend some time just me understanding this. So first and foremost, what I'm hearing is that you jumped a lot in terms of primary until you finally settled at KJ. Tell me a little bit about growing up in the hood that time. Gay.
In the hood. Well, Ngei was different from Rubia, even though they sort of neighbored each other.
Yeah.
Ngei was a little bit more upscale
Yeah.
than Rubia,
Yeah.
in my experience. Rubia was rough, man. In fact, my mom especially did not like it when I spent time playing with the neighborhood kids, because in her view, I was picking up bad habits, getting into fights. They were just rough guys, man. Proper mta guys. And I
Actually,
guess,
when I said hood, I didn't mean hood like that.
No, it was.
I just meant estate. But you're telling me it was hood.
It was, yeah.
Oh.
I'll be honest. It was maybe it was just my street, but Rubia was. You could not be a softie in Rubia, man. You had to make room for yourself. But given that we lived there so long, it just sort of became normal. But it was different in the sense that it was obvious, even to me, at least at the time, that my parents were making special effort to give us a different schooling experience than our neighborhood's demographic, if you will.
Yeah.
Because everyone went to the local schools. I think there was Langata Primary near the neighborhood and a few others nearby. Whereas we were being bused to Karen and State House Road, Dennis Pritt and whatever. So I was very aware that I was living a different sort of life from my neighbors and the kids I was growing up with. Yeah.
Oh, that's...
So that sort of made us a target a little bit. We were the kids who...
You're the Barbies within the
hoods. Yeah. We felt good for ourselves because we went to poor schools, which, as if we had anything to do with that. But it was a little bit tough for me to navigate that and still, hold my own against
the forces that be.
yeah, dude, against the rough guys on the street. So it was interesting, but I think interesting in a good way, because you learn certain skills, interpersonal skills, how to relate with different groups of people. Now, I say this because maybe I just have had time to think about it after the fact, but most of the homes on the street I grew up in didn't have cars, vehicles. And my dad at some point had 2 vehicles. And those are things you notice at some point in your life as you're growing up, and you see differences between yourself and the kids around you, whether less or better. It's irrelevant. So that was my experience. I was acutely aware of that difference in the neighborhood. But then I'd go to school, where I'd spend most of my day, and my classmates would fly to the States for holidays. And I'm like, what the crap is that?
Well, how come we're not flying?
Yeah, I was like the Shags kid, in school. So it was interesting in that I learned how to relate to both socio-economic groups, if you will, at an early age.
Hey, this is so interesting. Okay, let's talk about, even when I hear you talk, you're very articulate in your words. You sound like you've got some good vocabulary. Is this...
Hey, folks took us to good schools, man.
And I'm trying to wonder, was this relating to your grades? So in school, first of all, Kilimani Junior is not... For it to be one of the top schools in the country, it says something about the caliber of people who went to that kind of school. So were you clever in school? Did you enjoy learning? What did you enjoy learning? Tell me a little bit about the school environment, and more particularly Kilimani Junior.
So, like I said, Kilimani Junior was very plush compared to every other schooling experience up to that point. Lots of space, trees, greenery, fields. I mean, it was a world away from the neighborhood I was growing up in, or the other schools I'd been to. And then, of course, the economic demographics. The kids who went there were from very well-off families. And I was very aware of that. And I think I enjoyed the learning because of the environment. And that's something I became aware of much later in life. I'm the sort of guy who gets affected by surroundings. I prefer order. I hate dirt and grime and all that. It offends my soul. I'll put it that way.
That's shocking to hear you say that, and I'm going to sort of preempt something because of the industry in which you work in. You work in the land selling. Goshen Acquisitions helps you do strategic land investments across this country. And land, as we know it in Kenya, the process of acquisitions of that is so murky. And the word order sort of doesn't exist in that thing.
Yeah.
So
you bring tears to my eyes.
So for me to hear you say that you like order, that's just...
Yeah, I mean, it's not interesting. Sometimes we think that our various stages of life are unrelated. I think everything is sort of connected somehow. It's an expression of who you really are inside, right? But, those are things I am aware of as a 42-year-old now. That I might, 43, that I might not have been so aware of even in my early 30s or late 20s, But that became even more pronounced when I went to high school.
Okay.
So I finished Standard 8 at Kilimani Junior Academy.
So even before you finish, tell us, school-wise, yes, I've heard that you like order. How are you doing in terms of
grades?
Yes.
I was an average kid in Kilimani Junior, because all the kids did well in general. I mean, if you have 14 kids in class and you have some of the best teachers in the country, it's difficult for you not to do well. Like, you have to be a special kind of dumb to not do well. So, I mean, I think I scored 551 points out of 700.
Yeah.
Which was significantly lower than everyone expected. I have to say, my parents were a bit disappointed. I was also disappointed. I expected I would score around 600. Based on my general performance, I was really good with math. I think I was either top or I was always top 3 in math. You know, when other kids were scoring 70s and 60s, I was scoring 98s and 100%. I would solve equations in seconds. There was always a competition in for instance, in class 8, between a kid called Clarence Bricklin Ogada, who was a school captain. Amazing human being. I loved that guy. I have no idea what happened to him after primary school. Claro, if you're watching this, reach out, bro. Clarence was one of those kids who was just good at everything. It was annoying. He was fast body. This guy looked like he had been lifting weights since he was born. Beefy guy. He was the brightest. He was always number 1. He was good with sports also, just because of his physical dominance. And you know, I was class prefect, so in essence I was kind of deputy school captain, because I was class prefect in standard 8. So there was always a competition between himself, a lady or a girl called Edna Odongo. I haven't seen Edna since primary school. She was bright. Now that I think about it, they were both Jangos. they were both lures from the lakeside. So I think they ate plenty of fish. They were constantly the top performers in school. So I was always competing with them, especially with the mathematics and some of the sciences. I enjoyed school. I was well liked. I was really good at soccer. So there were instances where guys would fight to have me play on their side, because I was a really good striker. So, I mean, Primo was just a dream. I was completely oblivious to the sacrifices my parents were making for us to be there at the time. But I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed class. I got along well with most of the kids, as far as I know. Best schooling days for me in primary school.
I love it. So first and foremost, just to say, I remember when you said 551, it stuck out for me, because I remember 560 was always my target in school, and 560 meant you get an average of an 80. So for you to do 551, in case somebody's trying to just figure out what that looks like, it's more or less an average of a 79, 80.
Yeah, that's like
throughout
an A minus.
Throughout the 14 or however subjects we had, maybe 10, 11.
Or a bunch,
Arts and craft, from science, business, education, all of this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that's important, because all of our goal was to go to a national school, obviously.
Yes.
You know, whether it was Strathmore or Alliance High School or Lenana, you know, those were the name brands back then. And I think the cutoff for Alliance High School at the time was 570. So I missed the cutoff by 19 points.
And you finished in what year?
Class of 1992 is when I did my KCPE.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah. Always shocks me how old I am when I think about it. But all in all, it was an amazing experience. Yeah. A bit disappointing on the grades, because I generally performed way better than that. Maybe it was, I don't know what got to me, why the marks came as low as they did, but, you know, I still managed to get into a decent school.
So where do you go now to high school?
I went to Alliance, is a famous thing, right? Somehow my parents and one of my aunties, I remember, Auntie Esther Kibisu is her name, I think she was the headmistress of Joyland School for the Deaf in Thika, something like that. And I think she was well acquainted with the headmaster at Alliance High School because they were colleagues.
Yeah.
And I remember visiting the school with my parents and Auntie Esther. And I was interviewed by Mr. Wagitu, the principal of Alliance High School, one of the most famous principals of Alliance High School, one of the most beloved principals, also an old boy of Alliance High School.
Of course, he's not there right now.
No, he is. Mr. Wagitu is still going strong, man. He's
from 1993 when you joined, or even before that.
Yeah, he was there way before I joined. He left when I was in Form 4. And he now owns a school in Nyeri.
Oh, okay.
A private primary school.
Yeah, but what I meant, he's no longer at Alliance.
No, he's not at Alliance.
Okay, I was like, man,
I think he served 11 years. He served 11 years
Okay.
at Alliance High School as a principal. And I think he was the second African principal of Alliance High School.
Okay, that's big.
Since its founding in 1920. I think it's 23 or 26.
So you go, you're interviewed because your marks didn't allow you to be called there.
Yes, I'd missed a cutoff, and Alliance High School was extremely competitive because they
even with those marks, you still had to try and get in.
No, yeah, man, they were picking the brightest students from every district in the country. I mean, that's how Alliance High School always operated. It was the best and brightest from the whole nation. Right, so it was very competitive, and for whatever reason I was let in. So I remember reporting to school 2 weeks after the other Form 1s had already reported. And I stuck out like a sore thumb because I was still in my Kilimani Junior Academy uniform, which people used to make fun of. It was sort of like Starehe High School's color scheme.
Yeah,
people used to say
it has some red,
so bright, and
blue shorts.
Yeah, blue, like a weird blue, red tie. People used to joke that a chameleon would die of confusion if it touched your uniform. But so I enrolled, and I was there the full 4 years.
Okay, so you joined Alliance what year?
1993, February of 1993.